Good morning, everyone, especially to our instructor in this subject, Sir Christian Gassen. I am Earl J. Shane A. Angkit, and I am excited to be here as the representative from the Group 1 to talk about something really cool today, the nervous system. So let's jump in and explore on how our bodies use this amazing system to talk to each other and make everything work smoothly. To begin with, let us first define what really nervous system is. So we all know kapag sinasabi nating nervous system, ang unang pumapasok agad sa ating isipan ay ang ating brain. So para siyang communication tawag dito, our body's communication network. So, syempre, it includes our brain, of course, our spinal cord, and the nerves. So, this system controls everything we do from moving and talking to feeling emotions. It's like the boss that keeps everything working together. So, in simple words, para mas maintindihan nato kung unsa jud ning nervous system, kay kaning ang function niya kay ang atong brain nagatransmit og signal sa atong lawas kung unsa ang buhatonon. For example, let's take an example. Imagine your nervous system as a messenger system. So when we touch something hot, the nerves in our hand quickly send a message to our brain saying na, ouch, it's hot. And then our brain sends back a message to our hand kag nagasend siya og signal kung unsang buhaton knowing na mainit. So kaya gina pull away na to ang atong hands. So it's like a fast communication team helping us avoid getting burned. So mauna siya ang ako explanation for that simple explanation. So for further explanation and elaboration, the nervous system is like the boss of our body, helping it to do things and stay in balance. It makes sure we can move on purpose like kanang waving, and also take care of things our body does automatically like breathing. So it's kind of like our body manager, making everything work smoothly. So imagine again the nervous system as a traffic controller. Kung gusto na to kada bitong magtawid sa isa ka dalan or what we call the voluntary action, it signals us to stop or go kung maghunong bata or magpadayon sa paglakaw. On the other hand, when we accidentally touch something hot, it quickly tells our hand to move away. So that is involuntary action. So now to have a better understanding of what I am saying a while ago of what is voluntary, kung nalibog mo o kung saan ang voluntary and involuntary action, so pamino mo. Voluntary action simply meaning kaning things na ginahimo nato on purpose. Kanang aware ta na atay control like raising our hand or walking. While on the other hand, involuntary actions are things our body does automatically without us thinking about it. Kanang murag unconscious or unintentional na to na ginabuhat, such as our heart beating or our stomach digesting food. Kanang wala tayong control over it. Murag opposite siya sa voluntary action. So we don't have to tell our body to do these things. It just happen. Kaya gaya ng sinabi ko, wala tayong control. So opposite lang sila ni voluntary actions. Now for further explanation and discussion regarding this topic, the nervous system, let's take a look and listen to our video presentation. To begin, let's look at the primary functions of our nervous system. So the basic purpose of our nervous system is to coordinate all activities of the body, and also it enables the body to respond and adapt to changes that occur both inside and outside of our body. So para mas masabtan, ang main job jud sa atong nervous system ay kanang magkontrol sa bisag unsa ang buhaton sa atong lawas. It helps us to react to what's happening inside and outside our body. So let's say for instance na when we touch something hot, our nervous system nagaingon siya sa atong hand to move away para dili masunog ang atong kamot. Now the nervous system is actually split into two parts, and those are the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. We will explore the peripheral system later, but first, let's look at the central nervous system. Our central nervous system is made up of two major structures. Ang atong utok, which is the brain, and also ang atoang spinal cord. So, as most people know, the brain is found within the cranium or skull, and there are 6 main sections among other structures within it. Ang kaning 6 sections are namely the cerebrum, the cerebellum, the occiput, the midbrain, the pons, and lastly, the medulla oblongata. So the first section is the cerebrum. Take note guys, this is the larger section. It is divided in two major hemispheres which are ang right o ang left hemisphere. And the cerebrum is further divided into 4 lobes. These are the frontal, parietal, temporal, and lastly, the occipital. Let's talk about the function of these 4 lobes. So the frontal lobe is primarily responsible for reasoning and thought, while the parietal lobe is responsible for integrating sensory information. The temporal lobe is primarily responsible for processing auditory information from the ears. And lastly, the occipital lobe is responsible for processing visual information from the eyes. Now let's proceed to the second section of the brain, which is the cerebellum. This is the section located at the back of our head, located below the cerebrum and above the first cervical of the neck. Function ani guys, it is responsible for our muscle coordination, balance, posture, and muscle tone. Next, let's proceed to the diencephalon section. It is found between the cerebrum and the midbrain. So, for information guys, it contains of 2 structures, the thalamus and the hypothalamus. The thalamus behaves much like a relay station and directs sensory impulses to the cerebrum. And whereas the hypothalamus controls and regulates autonomic nervous system functions such as the temperature, appetite, water balance, sleep, and blood vessel constriction and dilation. The hypothalamus also plays a role in our emotions such as anger, fear, pleasure, pain, and affection. Let's move on to the midbrain section. It is located below cerebrum and at the top of the brainstem, and it is responsible for our eye and auditory reflexes. So to our second to the last section, the pons, it is located below our midbrain and in our brainstem. So ang function ani guys is it is responsible for certain reflex action such as kanang pagnguya bitaw and tasting and also the saliva production. And the last section, which is the medulla oblongata, it is the lowest part of the brainstem and it connects with the spinal cord and is responsible for regulating heart and blood vessel function, digestion, respiration, swallowing, coughing, sneezing, and blood pressure. Remember and take note of this guys, it is also known as the center for respiration. Now that we are all done sa brain, proceed naman tayo sa other half ng central nervous system, which is the spinal cord. So, the spinal cord is the link between the brain and the nerves in the rest of the body. And our spinal cord is divided into 4 different regions. And those are the cervical, the thoracic, the lumbar, and the afferent and the efferent spinal nerves. For better understanding, afferent is responsible for carrying information from the body to the brain, whereas the efferent naman is responsible for carrying information from the brain to the body. Murag vice versa lang siya guys. Pareha sa example na ko ganina guys before to nag-proceed sa discussion, katong when we touch something hot, ang nerve sa atong hand quickly sends a message to our brain saying na, ouch, that's hot. And vice versa, our brain then sends another message back to our hand, making it pull away para dili masunog. So, I hope you understand guys. Now, let's proceed to the peripheral nervous system. So, this system is subdivided into two smaller systems, what we call the somatic system and the autonomic system. The somatic nervous system is responsible for carrying motor and sensory information both to and from the central nervous system. This system is made up of nerves that connect the skin, sensory organs, and skeletal muscles. So, ang function ni somatic system guys, kay responsible siya for nearly all voluntary muscle movements as well as for processing sensory information that arises via external stimuli including hearing, our touch, and our sight. So the structures that allows this communication to happen between our nerves throughout our body and to our central nervous system are known as the afferent sensory neurons and the efferent motor neurons. Now, afferent simply means conducting inward and opposite to efferent that conducting outward. Based dito sa illustration guys, gaya na sinabi ko kanina, ng afferent and efferent ay parang vice versa lang, kumbaga nag-reciprocate lang sila. Ganun. So now, proceed na punta sa autonomic nervous system. So the autonomic nervous system is further divided into sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So sympathetic nervous system is vital to our environment. So have you ever heard of the fight or flight response to danger? So the sympathetic nervous system revs up the body when confronted with imminent danger to either defend yourself or to escape to the threat. Whereas the parasympathetic nervous system is the counterbalance to the sympathetic response to danger, whether real or imagined. Once the threat is gone, the parasympathetic brings all the systems of the body back to normal. Now at this point, you should have a basic understanding regarding our topic, the nervous system. And with that, let's do a quick recap. So the basic purpose of the nervous system is to coordinate all the activities inside our body. It also enables the body to respond and adapt to changes that occur both inside and outside our body. So the main job sa atong nervous system guys, is to control everything kung unsang buhaton sa atong body. It helps us react on what is happening both inside and outside our body. So the two major parts of the nervous system, we have the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. So the central nervous system is also divided into two major structure at yun ang ating brain at ang ating spinal cord. Next, there are 6 sections of the brain and we should remember this guys. These are the following: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, the diencephalon, the midbrain, the pons, and lastly, the medulla oblongata. Remember that the brain can be found within the cranium or what we call, kanang mas familiar sa ato, what we call the skull. The other half of the central nervous system is the spinal cord. So the spinal cord, it is the link between the brain and the nerves. It also divided into 4 regions which are the cervical, the thoracic, the lumbar, afferent, and efferent spinal nerves. Next, peripheral nervous system is outside the brain and the spinal cord. It is also subdivided into 2 smaller systems, what we call somatic and autonomic nervous system. So that's all, and I hope you all gain and acquired learnings and understanding. Thank you for listening.